What's going on, everybody? Toby1 Shinobi here, and today we are showing you the best loadouts and loot in Fortnite Reloaded. Now, this is Fortnite's new mode, and I gotta say, it is a blast to play, but it's a little bit confusing because, you know, it's a lot of OG loot, a lot of previous chapter loot, and people don't really know what's good. So I'm here to help you. I'm gonna show you what the best loadouts are in the game right now, the best guns, the best utility, and kind of recommended loadouts for different play styles and that sort of thing. I'm also going to give tips and tricks for each item as we go along, so watch the whole video because there might be some very juicy tips for these items and weapons throughout the video. All right, let's get into it. First of all, we're going to go ahead and rank every single item except for mythics and exotics because those are just like a lot to cover. I'm going to cover all the base weapons, items, utility in the game and talk about their attributes, how they should be used, my recommendations, and that sort of thing. And then we're going to get into loadouts and other tips and tricks. All right, let's kick it off with the submachine gun. The submachine gun is just called the submachine gun. Now, I will note that all these old guns have different models and item icons for their different rarities. So the submachine gun actually looks like what people call a P90 at higher rarities, and if it's like blue, green, or common, then it looks like this, right? It looks like this, but when it gets to higher rarities, it looks like a completely different gun. It's still the same gun, still pretty much acts the exact same, it just looks different, hits a little bit harder, has better recoil. Okay, so with that being said, I would rate the SMG as a B tier weapon. It's a pretty solid weapon for what it does. It's best used at close to close medium range. The one good thing about this weapon is that it has pretty much no recoil whatsoever. So if you just point at an enemy and you hold down the trigger, it's going to pretty much hit what you're aiming at. Now, the downside of this weapon is that it has a lot of bloom. So at longer ranges, you're gonna miss a lot of bullets just because the weapon inherently has bad spray. So it does good damage at close range, but honestly, I think there's a lot better options. So for now, I'm giving this a B rating. All right, next up is the tactical SMG, tactical submachine gun. Now, I would rank this weapon, honestly, as a C tier. The weapon is very inaccurate at medium range, only good at close range, and even then it has lower DPS than pretty much all the other SMGs and sidearms. The only thing it's really got going for it is its headshot multiplier. Has very good headshot damage, so if you can get up in people's faces and spray their face, literally, it does pretty good. It's okay on a hot drop, but honestly, I wouldn't carry this weapon unless I had to because of its low DPS and bad accuracy. All right, next up is the Stinger SMG. Now, the Stinger SMG is an excellent sidearm, an excellent cleanup weapon. It's got very, very good accuracy at long range. It has the highest DPS of all the submachine guns, and it sports very good accuracy at medium to longer ranges. Seriously, you can spray people out of the sky from like 60 or 70 meters out with this thing. It almost performs as good as an AR, but has a lot more damage fall off. So you'll still be hitting your shots, but they won't be doing as much damage as, say, an AR. But with all that being said, I am rating this gun as an A tier weapon. The Stinger SMG is A tier. If I'm going to carry a sidearm or an SMG, which arguably aren't that great in this mode, I would carry the Stinger. And the mythic version of this gun is even crazier. So Stinger SMG is an A in my book. Definitely recommend carrying it if you like sidearms or SMGs. All right, next up is the pistol. The pistol is fairly inaccurate at longer ranges. Medium range is just not very accurate. But at close range, this thing can deal serious damage. It's got a crazy headshot multiplier, crazy DPS, but medium long range, it misses a lot. So this is kind of a niche item. It's good on like a hot drop or like you would know inside of a house at very close ranges, but a lot of gameplay in Reloaded is recommended at medium range. You know, land some tags from afar, then shockwave in or get in on the enemy and then finish them with your shotgun. I just can't really recommend the pistol because it's just kind of too inaccurate at that medium range where you really need to be hitting shots. So I'm going to give this a C. And it could be a B at close range, you know, even an A at close range, but I'm going to give it a C because overall, it's just not that consistent. All right, now we're getting into shotguns. First of all, we've got the pump shotgun. Now the pump shotgun hits hard from about 10 meters out, and then from there it has a good amount of fall off. But it has nice range compared to most shotguns, but a very slow fire rate. So if you're gonna use the pump shotgun, you gotta be pump swapping, meaning you're carrying a shotgun and then an SMG or a sidearm or a assault rifle as the cleanup. You hit him with a shotgun, swap to the AR, swap to the SMG, spray, and then swap back to the shotgun, so you keep good DPS throughout the whole engagement. Now, I'm going to rate the pump shotgun as an A tier weapon. Very, very good damage when in the right hands. The pump shotgun is very good, especially in the gold or purple versions when the gun looks like a spaz shotgun. Very, very good. But again, you got to be carrying a secondary weapon and use good cover, take those really nice peeks, take a shot, go back to cover, or take a shot, swap weapons, spray them down, and then take another shotgun shot to finish, etc. So this weapon definitely requires a bit more skill than the other shotguns, but I really recommend it if you know how to pump swap or use cover well in close combat. All right, next up we have the lever action shotgun. Now the lever action shotgun is absolutely garbage. Absolute trash. Don't pick up this weapon unless you absolutely have to. You have to be basically touching someone's face to get good damage on this shotgun. Otherwise, you're going to be hitting for about 20 damage with a perfect shot from even like 6 or 7 meters out. It's only used when you're touching someone's chest, and then you can hit over 100 damage. If they've got a higher rarity lever, or they're just hitting better shots with any other shotgun, they're going to kill you. So avoid picking this weapon up at all costs unless you have to. I'm giving the lever shotgun a D tier rating. Definitely the worst shotgun in the game. All right, next up, we've got the Ranger shotgun. Now, the Ranger shotgun is a high skill, medium range shotgun. You're definitely not going to want to carry this if you're engaging with a lot of enemies at once. It's more of like a one-on-one weapon or a medium range, lands some nice damage over range. This thing hits hard at 30 or 40 meters out. It does nice chunk damage. But again, you're gonna have to be able to use cover really, really effectively and have time to reload during a fight in order to use it, because it only shoots one shot at a time before you have to reload. So you have to be carrying a swap weapon, and honestly, this weapon can get you in trouble if you're trying to use it with multiple enemies around you in close range. So honestly, I'm going to give the Ranger shotgun a B tier rating because it does good damage, but you can get yourself in trouble if you don't use it smartly. All right, next up, we've got the TAC shotgun. The TAC shotgun is very good. It's just well-rounded, has pretty good damage at range, deals very good damage at close range, has a high fire rate, and this is kind of everyman shotgun. Anyone can carry this and do well with it. All you have to do is pretty much lay on the trigger and put your reticle on the enemy, and it's very easy to hit shots. Even if you're kind of missing, you're still going to get fairly good damage because it's got such a wide spread. And this shotgun can pretty much work in every loadout, and is probably my favorite shotgun right now. Just like the most easy to use, most consistent shotgun at any rarity. It works pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to give the TAC shotgun an S tier rating because I think it can be used by anyone pretty darn effectively, and it really allows your inventory to open up because you don't have to carry as many weapons. It works so well at close range that it covers pretty much that close to close mid range really effectively, and then it allows you to carry just one other gun, being an assault rifle in your loadout, and then the rest as utility or heals. So yeah, overall, very, very good shotgun, especially at higher rarities. So I'm either picking up the TAC shotgun or the pump shotgun in most cases, sometimes the Ranger shotgun. But in Fortnite Reload, combat can be a little chaotic, a lot of people jumping on your head, and the TAC shotgun is very good at dealing with these chaotic fights at close range. All right, next up, we're going to start rating some utility. Let's start off with mobility. Shockwaves, absolute S tier item. Always has been an S tier item. If you can get 6 shockwaves, I would usually drop your grappler for the shockwaves if you know how to use them. If you don't know how to use shockwaves, watch my shockwave mastery video on my YouTube channel. I cover pretty much everything about them. But yeah, what's so good about shockwaves is that you can shockwave through buildings, structures, outside of structures, into structures from the outside in, and they're just really, really good. They can also be used offensively, to throw people out of bushes, throw people out of cover, throw people out of bunkers. Very, very good item. Now, if you have the decision to make between a grappler that has 10 uses versus 2 shockwaves, definitely go with the grappler, because with shockwaves, you need a shockwave to get in on someone, and then you need a shockwave to get out. Now, if you blow that and you use 2 shockwaves to get in on someone or kind of get halfway out of the fight, you're in trouble. So this is where having more grapple uses or just more uses of shockwaves is really good. So in most cases, pick up the grappler unless you can find a lot of shockwaves. If you can get 6 of them, I highly recommend that over a grappler. And honestly, I will carry shockwaves in a grappler or shockwaves in jump pads in most cases, double utility, because it's definitely something I recommend in this mode. So yeah, shockwave grenades are definitely an S tier item. Next up, we've got the Crash Pad Junior. Crash Pad Junior is a mobility item, and a lot of people might rate this as a C tier item or a B tier item in normal Fortnite Zero Build, but honestly, in Fortnite Reloaded, the Crash Pad Junior is an S tier item. And the reason for that is because everybody on your team can use it. So if you've got a coordinated squad and everyone's carrying 6 crash pads, you can cover ground very, very quickly. You can also follow your teammates without using too much utility as a team. So overall, you're saving a lot of utility to rotate around the map because everybody can use a single crash pad to get really far. Now, if you don't know how to use the crash pad, there's a few different ways to do it. One, you can sprint jump onto this thing and you'll go flying. You can also throw it down at your feet as you sprint. So you throw and then you immediately sprint and then you will go flying if you do that correctly. Or you can throw it down in front of you and then sprint slide into it and you'll go very far. You can also treat it kind of like a shockwave if you just throw down the crash pad and then gently jump onto it without a lot of forward momentum, and it will be treated like a shockwave, just kind of sending you straight up in the air. So yeah, Crash Pad Juniors are very, very good. Maybe not the best in fights. Shockwaves are definitely better in fights, but as far as rotation and getting across the map quickly or getting in on enemies very quickly, very good. Getting out with crash pads, not the best, but it can be done. Now, these can be shot out as well by your enemies, so again, very good for rotations. Can be dangerous if you're trying to rotate into an enemy and they see you and you're throwing them ahead. People can just shoot them out with a single bullet and pop them. But overall, S tier item in my mind, and if you combine them with like grapple or shockwaves, very, very good. All right, next up we got porta bunkers. Porta bunkers are definitely S tier items as well, because in end games and mid games of Fortnite Zero Build, a lot of times you will not be able to find cover in these open terrains, and porta bunkers are really good for that. Now you can carry 4 porta bunkers, which is really good. So if you stack up 4 of those, you're going to guarantee yourself good cover in the end game and give yourself much better odds. Now usually I won't start carrying porta bunkers till mid or mid end game, because you don't really need them in an early game. In early game, it's more about having like double movement, but as you get deeper into the game and start moving towards end game, definitely gonna want to start picking up porta bunkers and make sure that at least one of your teammates is carrying porta bunkers, because they're just that important. They're an essential item in end game, even sometimes mid game, if there's not a lot of cover around you. Now, with chest spawns being 100% guaranteed in this mode, it's not too hard to find these. So if you don't have them at early or mid game, that's okay. Just start looting chests around mid game so that you can prepare for end game and get porta bunkers. And if you don't know how to use porta bunkers very well, definitely watch my porta bunker video. I cover all the tips and tricks of how to fight well in bunkers. All right, next up we got Bubble Shield Juniors. Bubble Shield Juniors are very good items, but they're definitely not S tier. I would give Bubble Shield Juniors maybe B tier or A tier. I'm gonna put them on A tier for Zero Build because in the moment, if you have Bubble Shield Juniors, they can be really good at medium or long range. It gives you time to heal up while also seeing your entire surroundings and kind of just like allowing you to pause the game. Now at close range, they're also very good as well because you have an advantage if you're in a bubble, because you can jump out quickly, land a shot with a jump shot or just a little quick right shoulder peek outside of the bubble, or use it for a right shoulder peek. There's lots of different ways you can use bubble shields to your advantage if you're inside it. The downside of these items is that they do not last very long, maybe 30 seconds or so. Even if you carry like 4 of them, they don't last that long. So you got to use them in the right moments. Most of the time, if I see bubbles around in a pile of loot, I'm throwing it down immediately, and then I'm taking my time to loot. So really, really good for basically making you invincible at longer ranges and giving you a second to pause the game, heal up, search through some loot, that sort of thing. But in most cases, I'm not really carrying them in endgame. Porta bunkers are definitely much better. All right, next up, we got the big bush bomb item. The big bush bomb item is very, very solid, but there is one major downside to it, and that is the fact that snipers can shoot the bush and instantly blow it up. So in Zero Build, most Zero Build games, the snipers don't do that, but in Fortnite Reloaded, for some reason, the OG snipers break bushes. So honestly, I'm going to give big bush bombs a C tier because of that one thing. Now, if they weren't breakable by sniper rifles, they'd definitely be an A tier or maybe even an S tier item. But right now, they're a C tier item because snipers can break them. Now, if you're a mouse and keyboard player, the bush bomb is probably more like an A tier item for you because we don't lose aim assist when we're in a bush when we're using a mouse. We don't have aim assist to begin with. Controller players lose aim assist when they're inside of a bush, so they generally do not like bush fighting. Now, mouse and keyboard players generally have an advantage in these bush fights because they never have aim assist to begin with, and controller players lose their aim assist when they go into a bush. Now, if you want to know the reason for that, it's because if someone's hiding in a bush and you're on a controller, you shouldn't be able to scan over the bush and find out that they're in there just by moving your crosshair across the bush. So they disable aim assist anytime you're looking at a bush or you're inside of a bush. All right, next up is the grappler, a mobility item that has 10 uses, has medium range, and can grab onto anything and pull you towards it. I'm going to give the grappler an A, probably S tier. S tier, yep, because the grappler is so good at vertical fights and getting out of fights quickly, repositioning instantly, vertically or horizontally. It's just really, really good. It's good during fights. It's good for rotations. It's just good all around. And it's a lot easier to use than shockwaves or crash pads because all you have to do is aim at where you want to go and then pull the trigger and it will bring you there within about 30 meters or so. So yeah, I highly recommend carrying the grappler. It's an excellent mobility item. And a quick tip is anytime you kill a player and they drop a grappler, that grappler will now have 10 charges. If your teammate drops a grappler, it will not have 10 charges. It'll have whatever remaining uses there are in it. But if you kill an enemy, it always treats the grappler as a brand new grappler. So anytime you eliminate an enemy and they have a grappler, pick it up if yours has less than 10 charges, because theirs will be full. And if you get really good at using the grappler, you can do some crazy juking, some crazy aerial shots. You just have to get really good at grabbing onto something up high during a fight, grappling up, and then pulling out your shotgun, taking a shot or your AR, and then pulling out that grappler again, using it to juke one more time, using it to juke again, and then rinse and repeat. Honestly, a super fun item, super useful item, S tier. All right, now let's get into assault rifles. Starting with the assault rifle. It's just called the assault rifle and it looks a little different at higher rarities. Often looks like what they call a SCAR at the purple and gold rarity. Overall, I would say the assault rifle is a B tier item. It's very good at medium and close range. And it can be okay at longer range, but it has such inconsistent accuracy. It's got very large bloom. It never actually has perfect first shot accuracy, which is a big downside. If you try to use this weapon at longer ranges, it's just not very good. You're leaving everything up to RNG, which is just randomness, right? So honestly, it's pretty good as a spray weapon at medium and close range. Pretty good at, doing some damage at longer ranges, but very inconsistent. And for that reason, I would give it a B. It's not something I want to carry, but I will definitely carry it at higher rarities if I can't find a better assault rifle. All right, next up, we got the infantry rifle. The infantry rifle is a very, very accurate rifle with a slow fire rate and a good amount of recoil. You're gonna have to basically reset your aim after every shot, which is a downside of it, but it's got pretty much pinpoint perfect accuracy. And that cannot be overlooked. I would say that it can almost compete with sniper rifles because it does such good headshot damage. So I'm always trying to carry an infantry rifle when I can, especially if I see higher rarities of it. It's not the best spray weapon, but it will work in a pinch if you're stuck at close range. You can swap to it and land some good damage, but it doesn't have super high DPS at close range. It really, really is good at long range, medium range, and when enemies are flying through the air, it can absolutely beam people. So if you've got really, really good aim, the infantry rifle is an S tier item. Truly, it is one of the best weapons in the game. Very, very strong, very potent if you've got good aim. All right, next up is the heavy assault rifle. The heavy assault rifle is kind of similar to the infantry rifle, but you have to wait a while for that bloom to come in and have perfect first shot accuracy. So it isn't as accurate as the infantry rifle, but it does have surprisingly good hip fire accuracy, which allows it to be a little more flexible. Honestly, I'm not really picking this gun up unless I see it at higher rarities or I don't have an infantry rifle or a hammer assault rifle. I would say that it is better than the assault rifle, but it's not quite as good as an infantry or a hammer. It can hit for very, very good headshot damage, hit for very heavy damage at long or medium range, even close range, but honestly the fire rate's a little too slow and the accuracy of it takes too much time for that bloom to reduce in, and therefore it's kind of a good flexible weapon, but it's definitely not the best, and I'm giving it an A rating. All right, next up we've got the hammer assault rifle. The hammer assault rifle is an amazing gun. If you have not been using this gun, you've got to start using it. It's got what looks like pretty wide bloom, but in all honesty, that bloom is pretty much lying to you. Especially if you're crouched down or standing still, this weapon is an absolute laser. It hits about 50% of those shots at really, really far ranges, as long as you're aiming right on the enemy. So I'm gonna have to give the hammer assault rifle an S tier rating. It's just so good at every single range, and it can be used as an SMG. It's got very good damage and hip fire accuracy at close range, very good damage over long range. So honestly, it's just an amazing weapon. Definitely an S tier, and definitely really good in a 2-gun loadout with like a tac shotgun. So a lot of times you'll just see me running a tac shotgun and a hammer assault rifle because those guns are just so good. Now, a quick tip for the hammer assault rifle is that you want to be tap firing this weapon. Don't lay down on the trigger and let that bloom get out of control. Tap fire the weapon at longer ranges and you'll have much better accuracy. At close and medium range, sure, you can lay down on the trigger a little bit and then let that bloom come back and then lay down the trigger again. More of a sustained burst to retain that accuracy. All right, now we're getting to more specialty weapons, starting off with the revolver. I would say the revolver is a pretty solid weapon. It deals very good damage, very good headshot damage, but it doesn't really have perfect accuracy unless you sit for a second and let that bloom come in. Honestly, it's got very good headshot damage. It's a solid weapon all around, and I think I'm gonna rate this thing an A tier, maybe a B tier. Honestly, I don't really pick it up all that often. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but the times that I have used it, it has felt pretty darn good and very accurate. But I will say that the hip fire accuracy on it seems very, very bad. You pretty much have to be aiming down sights, and I think there's a lot of better options out there for sure. I'm actually going to give the revolver a B tier, moving it down to B tier because the hand cannon is actually a little bit better at what this does, which is heavy hitting shots. The hand cannon is crazy if you hit headshots. Very, very devastating headshot damage on this thing. Takes a little bit longer for that bloom to come in. Definitely slower on the shots, but it's better at what it's intended for, which is a nice opening shot or a nice heavy hitting shot to quickly turn the odds of a fight. So, if you open up a fight and you hit someone in the head for about 150 damage with the hand cannon, you pretty much just win that fight. Now, I wouldn't say that it can really replace an assault rifle or an SMG, so really you want to be carrying this gun in a 3-gun loadout with a shotgun and an assault rifle or an SMG. So yeah, I'm going to give the hand cannon an A rating because if you've got really good aim and you know how to use this weapon well, it is very good. All right, next up is the bolt action sniper rifle. Bolt action sniper rifle is a single shot sniper with about a 4x zoom, and the interesting thing about this weapon is it has 0 bullet drop. If you're used to chapter 5 snipers where there is a lot of bullet drop on those things, this has 0 bullet drop, which is really weird when you use it and you're used to chapter 5 weapons. So that's just a tip for you. Do not aim above your enemy, aim right on them, but if they're moving, you have to account for bullet time, bullet speed. So you do have to lead your shots with this weapon, but honestly, this weapon is devastating. It can one-shot kill, which makes it very good in a 3-gun loadout. So this is definitely a specialty item, but in most cases, I'm personally just carrying 2 weapons because I just find it more effective by being able to get out with mobility or by being able to use defensive items and that sort of thing. I'm usually not carrying snipers unless it's kind of a niche situation or an end game and one just happens to be sitting next to me. It just doesn't fit the aggressive playstyle style that I like to play in. So overall, I'm going to give the bolt action sniper rifle a B rating. And that is mainly due to the fact that there is a more superior sniper, and that is the hunting rifle. Now, the blue version and the purple version of the hunting rifle do not one-shot kill if somebody has full health and 0 builds, which is 250 HP, but the gold version of the hunting rifle will one-shot kill to the head. But it still hits for a very solid, like 227 or 230 damage, 240 with the purple, I think. So if the person's hurt at all and you land a headshot, it will kill them. Now, the thing about this weapon is it's very fast to aim down sights. It has no scope, so at close to medium range, it's actually really, really effective. You have to be aiming down sights to have good accuracy with it, and it does have a little bit of inconsistency unless you're sitting still. But honestly, it is a very, very good weapon. Can deal a lot of damage really quickly, and also hits for like 100 to the body. So if you combine this with an assault rifle, it's really, really good at medium or close range, and sometimes even far range if you're cracked at the game and you know how to use it. So I'm going to give the hunting rifle an A tier rating. I think it's a little bit better than the bolt action because you do not have to reload between each shot, and it's really good at medium and close range. But overall, it's not really an item that I'm carrying that often, but it can be very good in certain situations and is worth picking up, especially if you find a gold version of it. All right, next up we've got the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher is a very niche weapon, very, very good against structures, against bunkers. In the end game, this thing's devastating. Inside of structures, this thing's devastating. From the air, this thing is devastating if you shockwave and then shoot someone with it, or if you grapple up to something and then shoot someone with it. It's a very good close range opening attack weapon, right? When somebody just like is surprised that you just jumped on their head and they get hit by a rocket for 100 damage, and now you pretty much win that fight. Very, very good weapon, a little bit busted in my mind. So I'm definitely going to give this an A tier rating because it's not something I'm always going to be picking up, but in a lot of situations, it is very good. And if you know how to use the rocket launcher in an aggressive way with mobility, I would probably rate it as an S tier item because it's just going to win you a lot of close range fights. There's not a lot your enemy can do when they have a rocket raining down on them, followed up by a couple shotgun shots. It's pretty wild. So I'm going to give this actually an S tier for those who know how to use it well, and an A tier for most other players, because also it's just really good as a utility item for breaking down structures, breaking cover, and putting pressure on people. It's a really annoying weapon in the end game. Somebody has a rocket launcher and they're just spamming your bunkers. It's hard to deal with, and it can be a nightmare. So very, very good weapon, and definitely good in a 3-gun loadout. All right, next up we've got heals. I'm just going to go through this one really quick because there's not a lot to be said. Let's just go with minis. Minis are a C tier item. They're 25 HP. They heal very quickly, but you can only get up to 50 shields with them. So, you know, every enemy drops minis on their death in reload. So you can always guarantee yourself 50 shields, but you can't reach above 50. So yeah, kind of a C tier item. Splashes, chug splashes are definitely an S tier healing item because you can heal your entire team with them. They are very, very good, and you can carry 6 of them and they heal for 20, so you can heal yourself and all your teammates for 120 HP. Very, very solid. Try not to carry too many of these across separate teammates. If people have like 2 of them and another person has 2 of them, the other person has 4, just stack them all onto somebody and then have somebody else carry utility. Now, I will note that in Reload, it's a team game with 4 players, right? So you want to have 1 person carrying the splashes. You don't want 2 people carrying 2 splashes each because you're just wasting a healing slot. You can heal the entire team with these things as long as you stay close to each other and coordinate well, keep each other alive. Having just 1 person carry all 6 splashes is better than 1 person carrying 4 and the other person carrying 2. Don't waste that slot. Having utility slots is too important, so definitely stack them on 1 person. All right, next up is the med pack, which I am going to give a C rating. Definitely an important item if you're coming out of Storm and you need some health. Medpack's great, but honestly, there are med stations all over the map. In every POI, there is a station that you can buy heals from instantly, and it doesn't take as long as a med pack. So if you know where those are, much better to just use the healing stations. But, you know, if you're coming out of Storm and you got nothing around you, just open up a few chests and you'll find a med pack in most cases. Be able to get up to 100 HP rather slowly, but decent. All right, last is the shield pot. The shield pot is an A tier heal healing item. It can get you up to 200 shields, which splashes are currently the only other thing that can get you up to 200. Very good. You know, it heals slowly, so I'm going to give it an A tier, but you can stack 3 of these, so you have 150 shields in your pocket. And yeah, very, very solid. Takes 5 seconds to consume, 10 seconds for 2 of them. But if you've got no heals, these are your second best option. Now, I will note you can buy shield pots from every health station, so definitely figure out where those health stations are and use them when you're down on shields, because, you know, they cost like 100 gold per shield pot. So yeah, learn those locations because they can definitely save your life. All right, let's get into loadouts that I highly recommend for Fortnite Reload Zero Build. Now, Reload is a fast-paced game that is really about positioning, moving around quickly, and not getting stagnant or stuck between different teams and getting your whole team wiped. You got to keep moving around and exit bad fights so that at least one member survives. So, with that being said, mobility is very important, and a lot of times for early and mid-game, I will be carrying 2 forms of mobility, and towards the end game, I'll start picking up bunkers or bubble shields for defense. So generally speaking, I'm usually carrying crash pads or shockwaves in one slot. I'm carrying a grappler in one slot, so that's my 2 pieces of mobility. And then I'm replacing either the grappler or the shockwaves with bunkers towards the end game, depending on how many uses I have in either one. If I've got 6 shockwaves and 10 grapples, I'm definitely dropping the grapple, keeping the 6 shockwaves, just because there is a lot of utility there for shocking people out of their bunkers and that sort of thing. All right, as far as weapons go, I'm usually trying to carry the tac shotgun in most cases throughout the entire game. It's just a very, very solid shotgun with very good DPS and has pretty decent damage at close to medium range. Now, I will replace the tac shotgun with higher rarities of the pump. If I can find a gold pump or a gold spaz shotgun or purple, I'm probably going to replace a blue tactical, because honestly the pump is really good, especially at high rarities. At lower rarities, I'll usually pick the tactical over the pump. So if there's a green pump and a green tac, I'm going to pick up the tac. Now, if there's a blue pump and a green tac, depends on what my loadout looks like, but I'll usually pick the blue pump. But in most cases, I'm looking for a high rarity tactical shotgun in my loadout for a 2-gun loadout. And that brings me to my assault rifle. I'm usually just carrying a shotgun and an assault rifle so that I can free up 3 other slots for utility and heals, because it's just that important to stay mobile or have defensive equipment on you, or something like a specialty weapon like a rocket launcher or a sniper rifle, that sort of thing. So my assault rifle of choice is the hammer assault rifle. If you can get a hammer assault rifle in a high rarity, such as a purple or gold, definitely take that thing. It's crazy at long range, even though it looks like it's got big bloom. Very, very accurate, very deadly at close, medium, and long range. And if I can't find a high rarity hammer assault rifle, I will usually take an infantry rifle, because it is really, really good at long, medium range, but it's not very good at close range. So if I'm gonna take the infantry rifle, I want to rock it in a 3-gun loadout with a hammer assault rifle, or I want to rock it in a 2-gun loadout with a tactical shotgun, an auto shotgun. Or an exotic maven, a heisted if you can get it. But yeah, we're not going to get into the heisted and the mythics because they're so rare that they're hard to come across. Basically, any mythics or any exotics that you come across are very, very good weapons in their own way, and you should probably be picking those things up because they're all pretty much busted. All right, and then last we got heals. A lot of times I am not carrying heals in this game until the end game, because in the end game, yes, it's important. You don't have a lot of options. You can't go and loot chests all that often. You don't have a lot of places to maneuver to and just start opening chests or looting bodies. You're kind of usually stuck to an area, right? You're bunkered up or you're in a house and there's not a lot of options, so you want to be carrying heals at that point. Usually splashes or pots. Splashes the best because you can heal all your teammates. Big shield pots are great. Minis, you know, if that's all you got, that's what you got. And then usually health packs is just like not worth carrying. You know, you can throw them ahead of you and like try to throw them into areas. A lot of these healing items too, you can stock up inside of a bunker or in the house. Just go ahead and throw it across to wherever you're going so that you have it in the area at which you're going to hold down in the end game. So yeah, overall, I'm usually not carrying heals until maybe end game. And even then, a lot of times I'll just keep heals around, but not have them in my inventory because I'd like to be carrying something like a rocket launcher or extra mobility or extra bunkers or bubbles or push bombs, that sort of thing for utility, right? So my ideal loadout, if I was trying to pick out a perfect loadout Right now, I think it looks like this for the mid and early game. It would be probably an infantry rifle, which acts kind of as a sniper rifle and a long-range weapon, a tactical shotgun for the auto shotty, a hammer assault rifle as my SMG mid-range spray weapon, which is very good for hitting people out of the sky or gliding around, and then double mobility like a grappler and crash pads. Again, crash pads are very, very good in team modes because other teammates can use your crash pad to rotate. Not the best in the heat of battle, but they work in a pinch. They do not break through buildings. They don't throw people out of buildings, out of cover, that sort of thing. So not quite as good as shockwaves, but they're usually more plentiful and your teammates can use them. So I'm usually carrying crash pads or shockwaves, usually crash pads and shockwaves, or crash pads and a grappler is really great combo. So yeah, 2 mobility items for the mid to early game, just so I can rotate around, survive really well, jump on people's heads really well, and then 3 guns. And that infantry rifle can definitely be replaced by like a rocket launcher or a hunting rifle. Those are definitely viable options as well that I will pick up if I find them. And then as we get into end game, I'm definitely coming down to probably a 2-gun loadout with bunkers in my inventory or shield bubbles in my inventory in case things go sideways, and then at least 1 form of mobility and probably 1 form of healing, unless I've got healing around in the area that I can really count on. So yeah, probably 2 guns, 1 mobility item, 1 defensive item, and heals in the end game. That's really going to set you up for the most success so that you can handle pretty much all situations. If somebody pushes you, you can shockwave out, set down a bunker, heal up, that sort of thing. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you're enjoying Fortnite Reload, what your experience has been like. I found this game is really, really good for practicing realistic simulations of fights, of end games. I find it very, very good. So if you're trying to get good at Fortnite Zero Build, I highly recommend Reload. I'm just having a lot of fun in this mode. I find it very, very fun, especially with a squad of friends. All right, guys, let me know down in the comments below what you're feeling like. And if you like this video, if you found it helpful, leave a thumbs up on it. I really appreciate it. And consider using code Toby1Shinobi in your Fortnite item shop. All right, y'all, have yourself a great day. Shinobi out.